Welcome to the NatCon 15th Annual Student Veterans of America National Conference opening ceremony. We will begin in 2 minutes, so please take your seats. We will begin in 2 minutes. Welcome NatCon attendees. Please take your seats and we will begin our program in 2 minutes. Please take your seats quickly and we will begin our program.
Take it live.
NatCon attendees, please turn your attention to the stage and welcome Natasha Dixon, Outreach Coordinator with the Student Veterans of America Headquarters and Army Veteran, as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
All right. Okay, if you can place your right hand over your heart and look towards the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Please welcome the 3rd Infantry Division Army Band to play the national anthem and our service medley. And now, those of you please stand for the Space Force song. Will our Coast Guard people please stand? And now the Air Force. And our Navy colleagues. Do we have any Marines in the house? And our oldest service, let's the Army. Let's give a rousing round of applause for the 3rd Infantry Division Army Band. Now please welcome to the stage Student Veteran of the Year finalist, Alexis Smith of the University of South Carolina.
Hello, Student Veterans of America. Let's make some noise. No, wait. No. I heard you all make some noise for, Navy, for Army. So let's redo that again. Let's make some noise, Student Veterans of America. Okay, you guys, so welcome to the 15th Annual Student Veterans National Conference. We are here to celebrate you. So, on behalf of the Student Veterans of America, we are happy to be able to welcome the very first keynote session of the conference. We've already experienced tradition from the Seminole Tribe of Florida, who has deep-rooted ties with our SVA chapter at Florida State University and the 3rd Infantry Division Army Band. So let's give another round of applause to the Army Division Band. But we have so much more, featuring the State of SVA President and CEO Jared Lyon, a fireside chat with Hill vets Justin Brown and the Honorable Chuck Hagel, a keynote by gaming influencer iAsia, and sponsored by SVA longtime partner Raytheon. Thank you, Raytheon, for making today's opening and general session possible. So thank you, Raytheon. And we have another thank you to NatCon's presenting sponsor, Boeing, who has invested in all of us knowing that student veterans are the next greatest generation of American leaders. So thank you, Boeing, as well. As I mentioned, it's a big anniversary year for Student Veterans of America, and it's time to reflect on 15 years of excellence from the student veteran community and those who empower them. This year's NatCon's theme is On the Shoulders of Giants. The phrase recognizes the dedication, time, and vision of all who paved the way for millions, transitioning service members before us, and of course, for those who have gathered here today. On the Shoulders of Giants speak to a vast-reaching mission, from investing in those who have served, to safeguarding the GI Bill, to providing veteran-inclusive campuses, to offering scholarships and internships, and creating programming for student veterans not only to succeed, but to thrive through and beyond higher education. In addition to commemorating this milestone year, this conference is for you. Not just for me, but for you guys as well. So give yourself a round of applause. With all that student veterans juggle, it's not easy to commit to a 3-day conference, so we applaud you for making it happen for you, your chapter, and all your bright futures. And because this conference schedule is jam-packed like never before, we'll kick off this opening session without further delay. I'm so pleased to introduce an SVA fan favorite who also happens to be the president and CEO. And I'm gonna keep this between me and you. He's also a Navy veteran, so go Navy. This Navy veteran holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Florida State University. So where's Florida State University at? Are they here today? Florida State, go ahead and make some noise. Let's go, Florida State. Thank you, Florida State. So he has a Master of Public Administration from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. At Syracuse University, where he is an adjunct professor at the Whitman School of Management. He also served Student Veterans of America for 7 years and recently returned to the school himself to earn a PhD at Syracuse University, reclaiming the title of student veteran. Truly one of us. So please welcome to the stage no other than Jared Lyon himself.
That was a great song. That was nice. So welcome everybody to the 15th Annual Student Veterans of America National Conference. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging that we are here together in Orlando, Florida, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Seminole, Muskogee, and Muskogee people. On behalf of Student Veterans of America and all those gathered here today, it is important first that I pay my respect to elders both past and present. Thank you. It is a truly wonderful thing to see each and every one of you here. I am not exaggerating in the least when I say that SVA's National Conference is the highlight of my year, and it starts at the beginning of the year. And this year's even more special as we get ready to celebrate the 15th anniversary of Student Veterans of America. But before I kind of jump into some of my remarks, we've been hearing a bit of spirited efforts here with the branch services. The first class I ever took when I got out of the Navy was at a community college. It's now called Eastern Florida State University, but it was Brevard Community College when I was there. And the first class I ever took was a public speaking course. And the biggest takeaway from that course is that you should always try to get to know your audience whenever you speak. And really that's what the next few days are about. It's all of us getting to know each other. It's individual chapters from all throughout the United States, US territories, and a few countries overseas coming together to truly get to know each other and be the change we'd like to see in the world. So to that end, I'd like to, if you'll indulge my prerogative of being at the microphone for a minute, I'd like to get to know each of you a little bit better. So I'll ask that you sound off in any way that you feel most appropriate, but where is the United States Army? They always start off first, right? They're a big group and they're loud, but I would love to hear from the world's finest sailors of the world's finest Navy. Where is the United States Navy at? Hoo-yah Navy, felt that in my core, thank you. Now, sometimes referred to as the smallest branch, I would maybe argue they're the meanest. Where are our United States Marines? There's actually only like 200 of them here, but they fill up a room when they yell, right? Speaking of the real motivators, where is the United States Air Force? They're always so polite, the Air Force. I love them. And then, you know, let's hear from the mighty U.S. Coast Guard. You hear it? It gets bigger every year. We love the coast, we truly do. Our coasties are fantastic. Now, this is a newer one. We only started it last year, but anybody from the Space Force? There's a few social media influencers in the audience today for everyone's awareness. Listen, the Space Force officially started producing their first veterans next year, so we can't wait to welcome them to the classroom. And listen, y'all, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge a group that without them, we all couldn't do what we do. So if you're somebody who identifies as a family member of somebody who has served or is serving, a supporter or an ally, could we hear from you? Let's all give it up for our family members, supporters, and allies. Thank you for being here. So listen, everybody, over this last year in 2022, I had the opportunity to kind of think about what 2023 means as we move into the 15th anniversary of Student Veterans of America. And honestly, anniversaries are a time to reflect on how far we've come, and more importantly, where we're headed. But of all, it's a time to celebrate as well. So to each of you in this room who took time away from school, from work, from your families, your individual responsibilities, I thank you for being here to celebrate with us. Day in and day out, you are our inspiration. You are the reason why our headquarters staff creates programming and advocates all year for student veterans. You are the reason why we work tirelessly to achieve policy that best reflects the needs of our population. And you are the reason why we take great care in researching absolutely everything that we can to better reflect your needs in our programming and advocacy. It's not a stretch to say that you make our SVA world go round. There are days when I still pinch myself, realizing that I get to do my dream job as your national president and CEO of this incredible organization that today currently serves more than 750,000 student veterans each year at more than 1,500 campus chapters in every US state, territory, and 3 countries overseas. And I know that I'm not at all alone in facing a little bit of imposter syndrome when I wonder exactly how I personally got here, both in this role and on this stage in front of all of you. But as I walk these halls of Disney's Coronado Springs, having a chance to shake your hands, catch a few hugs, and when I sit down with our partners who are so deeply invested in each of your success, I'm reminded of who I am and why I have the chance to do what I do. You see, my personal journey as a student veteran began at Brevard Community College in Melbourne, Florida, just a few months after I got off of active duty in the Navy. I worked full-time at Northrop Grumman during the day, and I took classes at night at the community college. I eventually became a transfer junior at a small state school not far from here in Florida, Florida State University, where I first became involved with SVA. I started off by being voluntold to become our club's vice president, and then later I was elected as the chapter president, and eventually I became Student Veteran of the Year at SVA's 4th national conference, which was in Vegas that year. We haven't been back to Vegas since. Y'all are wonderful. I went on to earn a master's degree at Syracuse University while I worked full-time at the time, a new institute that had been formed for interdisciplinary research to study the transition issues of veterans and military families, today known as the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. And today, I do have the chance to stand before you as a student veteran again, as I enter this spring my last semester of coursework in pursuit of my PhD from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. Doing all of this while working full-time at SVA and raising a beautiful little ginger with my incredible wife, Shayla. And I'm just one story of so many. And when we talk about 15 years of Student Veterans of America, what we're really talking about are the millions that SVA has served. Those who have gone on to lead in their workplaces, their communities, and on the national stage. These are stories that are like mine, but also they're stories that are so different from mine, because the veteran population is beautifully diverse. A fabric woven of all of our individual stories, the stories in this room and on campuses across the country, as well as the many who have come before us. Much like America is an ongoing experiment, Student Veterans of America, it's an experiment. It began as a handful of driven individuals who saw a need and started to fulfill it. First by connecting virtually, and we always hate to date ourselves, but on MySpace. Is anyone still friends with Tom? Then we moved together to cast a larger net around student veterans nationwide, with additional sights that were set on policymakers who represented us, all continuing to fill the needs as the world evolved around us. Our founders of SVA realized that there was strength in banding together and forging a new path. And each year, that once small number of individuals has continued to grow to a community that is now millions strong. And to that end, I just wanted to take an opportunity to acknowledge one of our founders who is sitting in the front row, who has a birthday coming up as well, who just got engaged. If you could give it up, and please stand, Mr. Derek Blumke. Get on your feet. Now, Derek is an Air Force veteran, so never let it be said that the Air Force is not a strong part of this organization. But if we think about it, in both the American and the SVA experiences, there are a shared goal of a distant perfection that is on our horizon. And I'd like to argue at the same time the imperfection of the present, and simply being in the process midstream is beautiful in and of itself. It is an ever-evolving dance to both be proud of what is good while acknowledging the needs of what has to be fixed. We have yet to find a perfect symmetry, but the asymmetry of not always knowing the answer, of being comfortable in doubt, of possessing the vision without necessarily knowing how we'll achieve it, fumbling towards success while experiencing all the bright spots and the challenges along the way. It's all beautiful, and it is quintessentially the service member and veteran experience. Because each of us has challenges, and once they are overcome, there is no resting on our collective laurels, but rather a commitment to keep striving and progressing, no matter how many successes we have under our belts. It's the human condition told through the lens of a devoted community. And our story can only be told while standing on the shoulders of giants, which is also the theme of this milestone 15th Annual National Conference. Just as I recognized the Native American tribes to begin our session today, it is my hope that we all think of those who have come before us. For it is those that have come before us that laid the foundation that we all walk on now, just as we shall for those who will come after us. As they say, it's the journey, not the destination. And we at SVA are so honored and grateful to be on this journey with you. Because we are here to celebrate 15 years of SVA and to celebrate each of you who are gathered with us, we have planned the most robust NatCon in the organization's history. And it's our commitment to the future we know that each of you have, which is extraordinarily bright. But before I get to that, let's take a moment to look back on a few of the highlights from 2022. After 2 years of virtual life during a global pandemic, which I'm sure we all loved, thanks in large part to the Boeing Company and many incredible partners, SVA's regional summits took place in person in 2022. We hosted regional summits in Chicago, Atlanta, Phoenix, Portland, and Providence last summer. And if you haven't attended a regional summit, you really should. Please know that regional summits train SVA chapter leaders in a variety of topics, from strategic planning for your chapter, to seeking opportunities for expanded leadership, to training for the campus liaison program, and even setting personal goals and expectations for those that you serve through your SVA chapter. In 2022, Regional Summits trained our first group of diversity, equity, and inclusion liaisons, a meaningful step towards inclusive environments for campuses where SVA chapters operate. And every year, Regional Summits provide a wealth of resources for SVA chapters at any point in their chapter trajectory. Regional Summits are designed for all chapters, every summer, just before the new school year starts, and often after chapter officer elections. In October of 2022, SVA held our Leadership Institute in Washington, D.C., where the top SVA chapter leaders from around the country were invited to spend several days experiencing the premier student leadership experience in the United States. More than 100 SVA chapter leaders were rigorously selected from the most demanding and holistic leadership institute in our history. The foundational curriculum centers on the exploration of a wide-ranging portion of core values, a commitment to delivering results, both professionally and personally, as well as a nuanced practice of building long-lasting relationships. I'd argue friendships. This year, those tenets were also joined by an entirely new advanced curriculum that covered topics such as mental models, culture, building a team, and the importance of clear and effective communication. And this incredible group of SVA Leadership Fellows took in some of the sights while they were in Washington, D.C., to include being invited to a private tour of the White House by President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden. More than that, we added an entirely new post-Leadership Institute experience leading up to NatCon this year. Each and every SVA Leadership Fellow, which is the title that is earned upon graduation from the Leadership Institute, left with a personal leadership mission statement, a communication strategy, and an action plan. Since then, more time has been spent learning from their peers and their mentors as they execute these plans in the real world. There is no leadership development event, in my opinion, that rivals the SVA Leadership Institute, where we are building the next greatest generation of American leadership who are prepared to solve the complex problems that our country will face in the future. Your SVA Government Affairs team led the charge in fighting for military-connected students, student veterans, military families, survivors, this past year by elevating their collective voices to key decision makers in Washington, D.C. Throughout 2022, our team submitted 6 congressional testimonies and statements for the record to the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate, while attending a total of nearly 100 meetings with federal agencies to include the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Education, the Department of Defense, the Department of Labor, Small Business Administration, members of Congress and their staffs, as well as the White House. To that end, SVA was successful in advocating for improvements to several major higher education regulations, such as borrower's defense, public service loan forgiveness, and closing, finally, the 90-10 loophole, as well as supporting 9 bills that made it through at least one chamber of Congress. Most recently, in the final days of 2022, we capped the year off by achieving our top organizational priority, which was protecting student veterans and their education benefits during future national emergencies, to include pandemics, with Congress passing the Veterans Auto and Education Improvement Act of 2022. The results of that effort will be felt for years and generations to come. In more good news, and launched just a few weeks ago, SVA is proud to be one of the beneficiaries of Hanks for the Troops Coffee Company, a new charitable company started by the one and only Tom Hanks, where 100% of profits go towards organizations that provide critical support and resources to veterans. You can visit givehanks.com. That's Hanks with an X, the same way that Tom Hanks signs his letters on one of his dozens of antique typewriters. When you get to that website, you're going to see some familiar faces in their Stories from the Field page. We're in good company alongside of Bob Woodruff Foundation, Headstrong, and Hire Heroes USA. And we're excited to see how the brand unfolds as one of the most beloved stars is at its helm, with some of those profits coming to SVA. Now, looking to the year ahead for 2023, with a few quick snapshots. Your team at your SVA headquarters in Washington, D.C. is very excited about the launch of My SVA 2.0, reimagining the original portal to more effectively connect everyone in this room to a plethora of scholarships, to countless opportunities like internships and events, and to chapter tools such as strategic plans and governing documents, making it easier for your SVA chapter to thrive. You can think of My SVA as your one-stop shop to empower your education, your chapter, and your career. If you are already registered for My SVA, please check back often so that you don't miss up on some of these game-changing opportunities. And when you get back to campus, please keep your contact information updated, as well as registering your chapter members so that everyone can receive special invitations from SVA headquarters. And if you haven't signed up yet, seriously, what are you waiting for? No, I mean it. Go to studentveterans.org and get started. Similarly, SVA is moving forward on some of the highly impactful updates of our online Career Center. In partnership with Direct Employers Association and the National Association of State Workforce Agencies, the SVA Career Center on our website has currently posted over 3 million available jobs. Yes, I said 3 million available jobs. And the SVA Career Center highlights many diverse corporate partners via the SVA Partner Directory. I'm excited to share that there will be several new features debuting in the months ahead for 2023, with some big plans for the Career Center over the next year. This includes professional mentoring, career readiness programming, and unparalleled exposure to top employers who are already committed to hiring student veterans for both internships and career opportunities. And this becomes a resource for all student veterans, military-connected students, family members, and survivors in your chapters back on campus. Through our partnership with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Hiring Our Heroes program, we'll also be launching several virtual career fairs throughout 2023. These will be open to all those connected to the SVA network. But wait, there's more, because you have to say that now. Was that a tough dad joke? That's okay. That's all right. I did my best here. But you can come to support programming along with the SVA's Leadership Continuum in the Career Center, which will seek to additionally support those on active duty who are also in transition, veterans who are not yet enrolled in school, and our family members. So stay tuned for this news shortly as it comes available. And at risk of repeating myself, you can always find that news on my SVA. We are also proud to announce a new partnership with 4Block, which seeks to fill a critical gap in career services for a diverse population of student veterans. Together, we have begun the scaffolding for a proactive and productive collaboration that will focus on streamlining access to proven career readiness programming, specifically for prior enlisted service members just like myself, who are transitioning to our civilian lives through higher education. This new partnership is going to build upon prior investments to create a stronger student veteran career network using effective, evidence-based career readiness programming and an engaged employee network. This will provide a whole-person approach to meaningful careers for student veterans. A reoccurring challenge that we continue to hear from SVA chapters every year is the difficulty in recruiting new chapter members to our organization. Additionally, student veterans who are currently changing their degree plan on average 2.3 times over their academic journey, compared to 1.7 times for those who did not serve in the military. So, thanks in part to a large investment made by Raytheon Technologies, we've been able to begin solving these problems through the development of our National Academic Advising Center, or the NAC for short, because we had to have an acronym. We're excited to launch this as a resource for incoming student veterans later this year. A goal for the NAC was to include cutting-edge technology and artificial intelligence to deliver the greatest possible outcomes. An SVA partner that I'm pleased to announce today for the first time is our new friends at Beamery. Recognized as an ethical AI talent lifecycle management leader, Beamery will power the technology behind the NAC and the Career Center to deliver a personalized career and degree exploration experience for new-to-college student veterans, as well as transitioning service members and their families. For nearly a decade, Beamery has been hyper-focused on building a technology that enables their clients to unlock the full potential of the global workforce. Now, in collaboration with SVA, they're invested in helping the veteran community to unlock their full potential, both academically and in our career journeys. Lastly, the SVA Racial Justice Task Force was convened this past fall for our ongoing commitment to justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. These efforts have also been made possible through the generous support of Raytheon Technologies. The Racial Justice Task Force will be providing additional educational support and content development for SVA leadership and campus chapters, which includes contributing to the development of educational and informational materials for SVA outreach, trainings, and curriculum. Further, the task force will assist SVA around issues of racial justice and provide recommendations as well as best practices. The task force will also serve in an advisory capacity for the SVA Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Liaison Program, which I already mentioned a little earlier. And the next meeting of the SVA Racial Justice Task Force is happening right here at this year's NatCon. More than that, SVA is in deep planning mode for the Student Veterans of America inaugural Representation and Inclusion Summit, which will take place in Washington, D.C. this spring. It'll be comprised of both student veterans and higher education leaders. All of this from our progress made in the last year, or more accurately, the last 15 years, as well as our very big plans for the year ahead, and the next 15 years, of course, is only possible through the support of our most dedicated sponsors. SVA's presenting sponsor this year of our national conference is our great partners at the Boeing Company, and we thank them from the bottom of our collective heart. And of course, a huge thanks to the Walt Disney Company and Disney World Resorts for being an awesome place to NatCon. And we have so much gratitude for those partners that are spearheading our momentum into the future of Student Veterans of America, including Beamery, Comcast NBC Universal, the PwC Charitable Foundation, Raytheon Technologies, Microsoft, and our friends at the Wounded Warrior Project. On January 23rd, SVA will turn 15 years old. This is a testament to the fact that each of you belong in higher education, and that together we are continuing to strive to create more veteran-inclusive campuses wherever students are leveraging the transformative power of higher education. As you listen to our speakers over the next few days, shake hands and catch up on hugs with fellow student veterans and SVA partners, when you dive deeper into our breakout sessions and partake in yoga or the Wear Blue Run to Remember, Remembrance Run, please take a moment to think about SVA's 15 years of impact. Think about the millions served, the careers sparked, the leadership that abounds, and the lifelong friendships that have been created and are yet to be forged. And think about what your contribution to this legacy will be. What present imperfection will cause you to strive, all while recognizing the beauty of your own unique process. On behalf of all of our staff at your SVA National Headquarters and our National Board of Directors, we know that you will do incredible things here and every step of the way as we cheer you on. Please go forth and leave everything you see just a little bit better than you found it. Do this, and you will truly leave a legacy worthy of your service. Thank you all for attending, thank you for your attention, and thank you for coming to the 15th anniversary of our organization via this year's NatCon. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Student Veteran of the Year finalist, Joshua Jones of Loyola University, Chicago.
Good afternoon. We are off to a great start with 3 days of programming, created solely with you in mind. So let's take a moment to make sure we all stay connected and keep on top of this incredibly dynamic conference schedule. Remember, every aspect of NatCon is for you. As changes have occurred in the schedule since the program was printed, please be sure to download the NatCon mobile app. Aim your scanner at the screen. There are also QR codes on the signs throughout the conference center. This app will give you the latest information on NatCon 2023, including schedule, breakout sessions, sponsors, exhibitors, and more, including notifications of exciting events happening throughout the conference. Beyond the busy schedule, you're here to network employers, other student veterans, and chapters across the country. Every connection counts, and you never know what might come out of a conversation this week. And because we all know that didn't happen unless it's on Instagram, and for the state of growing your own digital brand, please share photos and stories across the social media hashtag NatCon 2023, and we are hashtag SVA or hashtag SVA Leads. If you haven't already, and why would you not, please remember to follow SVA on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. These platforms offer a centralized conversation for student veterans, chapters, and partners across the country. Lastly, and I really want you to hear me on this, make sure you're registered for My SVA. It's critically important that your chapter stays connected to SVA National Headquarters for resources, opportunities, and exciting news with you and your chapter members. This quick and easy task helps keep your chapter healthy, informed, and connected to both the larger SVA chapter community and SVA National Headquarters, who's always here to serve you. You can register on the SVA website, studentveterans.org. And now, on with the program. We are so honored and lucky to have the next discussion here in person for you today. The Honorable Chuck Hagel is an Army veteran who served in Vietnam. As a Sergeant E5, he served as an infantry squad leader for the 9th Infantry Division. He went on to serve as United States Senator from Nebraska from 1997 to 2009. And as the 24th United States Secretary of Defense from 2013 to 2015 in the Obama administration. He is one of the greatest advocates for veterans we've seen in our lifetime. In conversation with Secretary Hagel is another important advocate, Justin Brown, the CEO, the founder of Helvets, who's also currently the CEO of the Nimitz Group, a bipartisan consulting firm tackling the most difficult issues on veterans and healthcare. He has worked for the VA, the VFW, and the American Legion, and was a staff director for numerous subcommittees for the House Veterans Affairs Committee. But first, please direct your eyes to the screen for more on something very near and dear to us all. Long fought for and gratefully preserved. Friends, I present with you the impact of the GI Bill.
I think in a modern context, we think of the GI Bill as synonymous with education and training. The idea that education and training was incorporated almost didn't even happen. Even though that original GI Bill wasn't perfect, its legacy is that it began a change.
The GI Bill has so many tools and resources built within it to help ensure student success, and it really sets you up for success in a way that no other federal benefit or higher education benefit does. Being able to be inspired by all of the student veterans I have seen use it has led me to go back to graduate school myself. I am so pleased to work on behalf of it because I know how great it is.
The GI Bill instantly became an opportunity for education post-military service, an opportunity to change the trajectory of my family. And without that foundational experience that I had because of the GI Bill for an associate's, bachelor's, and master's, I don't think that there is any world in which I would look at my previous set of experiences and know that I'd be a PhD student today. It has expanded my opportunity from a learning perspective, from an employment perspective. And the GI Bill made all of that possible.
The Forever GI Bill, unlike anything else I've worked on, is a case study in collaboration in Washington, D.C. It took a large coalition of organizations, all with different priorities, coming together to find common ground, and then working to overcome a lot of legislative and political hurdles to make it happen. It is truly, truly an example of what can be done if people are willing to work together and put aside their differences.
If I had the ability to trade it in for anything, I think I would have to decline, because the GI Bill really gave me the confidence that I could go to school. It gave me the financial security to be able to afford it, and it helped to change my life for the better in a way that I hope will help me pass it down to the next generation of family members in my own family.
Please welcome founder of Helvets, Justin Brown, in conversation with the 24th Secretary of Defense and two-term United States Senator, the Honorable Chuck Hagel.
Well, sir, I hate to say this, but this is kind of all your fault. So how about we give it up for Senator Chuck Hagel real quick.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Senator, Secretary, Sergeant, it's tough to keep track of your titles.
I couldn't keep a real job.
Every once in a while, I get a rare email from signed off as Sergeant Hagel. I promise I'll never call you that, sir. So, but it's appreciated. So we have this incredible audience of young, maybe not so young, diverse American veterans who are all in school. So maybe to start things off, if we can go back a few years. I know it's only five or eight to your college days. Tell us about young Sergeant Hagel, trying to make that transition from, your tours in Vietnam. You served with your brother. I think you guys came back with handfuls of Purple Hearts. Anybody ever served on the front lines with their brother in this room, or sister? Anybody? Wow. All right. So take us back to that time. What was going through your head, and how did you make all this work?
Justin, thank you, and to all of you, thank you for what you've done for our country and what you'll continue to do in rather significant ways, as you already are doing. I was a little different because I had gone to 3 colleges before I went into the Army. Didn't graduate from any of them, and so my academic career was not one to be emulated. Came back from Vietnam in December of 1968. My brother Tom came back a month later. He had not gone to college. He went into the Army right after, a month after high school. And so we both started at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. I needed to finish college, he needed to start college, and we could work as well. We could find jobs in Omaha, which we did. We each had about, I think, at different times, 3 jobs each, and went to school. Okay. But University of Nebraska at Omaha, and there may be some here from UNO, I don't know, it has been for many, many years a very significant school for veterans, and still is. That was really one of the most important times in my brother Tom and my life. I mean, he's been successful with his life. He was dean of the law school at University of Dayton. He's now a judge, and I had to look for a lot of jobs, and so he's done quite well. But that time, after we left Vietnam, and many of you know because of friends or relatives you've had who served in Vietnam, that was a tough time for veterans to come back from a war. Not only because of the war, but because of the country politically. In 1968, when I was in Vietnam, and my brother, that was the worst year of the war. We lost over 16,000 Americans in 1 year, 16,000. We'd never do that today. America would never put up with that. But also what was going on in this country at the time, assassinations of Kennedy and King, and other problems, cities burning. But what that did for us, obviously it launched us, it gave us a career and opportunities, and that we could call upon our experience, and we could connect with those who had had similar experiences at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. But I think more than any of that, what it did, it gave us some perspective and real appreciation for our veterans, what this country meant. And I think those who've not served, and it doesn't mean anybody who's served is any better than anybody else, not at all, not at all. We all serve in our own way, and that's the way it should be. Be who you are, and be true to yourself. But that really was, I think, the beginning for my brother Tom and me.
And then you ultimately become a disc jockey, and it's true. But it wasn't your calling, and you decided to give that up, and you make your way to Washington. We both kind of share a similar story in making our way to Washington, living in somebody else's basement. You were in the basement of a member of Congress who I think helped you out a great deal, get on your feet. And today we both work together, helping veterans get their start on Capitol Hill. So just a quick shameless plug, if anybody is interested in that path, there is both an SVA VFW fellowship that is, I think it's 10 days or so. Check that out. And then Hillvets also has a house right on Capitol Hill. And if you want to come up to Capitol Hill, get your start. We have a booth here. Jody Harmon is here somewhere. I think table 58. Come check us out. So you make the transition to Washington, D.C., do a number of things, and I think we'll stay away from your bio today, but let's fast forward because we've been asked to talk about a very important story, which is the idea that we needed a better educational benefit for the men and women who were fighting these wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And so the Post 9/11 Veterans Educational Assistance Act of 2007 was introduced on January 4th by Senator Webb, his very first day that he's able to do any legislation as a senator. Bobby Scott introduces the companion bill, not a veteran himself, but from Virginia. I imagine that was the tie. And to put this in context, I mean, in 2007, we've got the controversy surrounding the surge, which you were a very strong voice, asking very tough questions. I'd just become an intern on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. You were on the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee. So we were both watching these hearings on the surge, General Petraeus coming to Capitol Hill. You joined the post 9/11 bill in October, I would say is the first significant veteran Republican. You were the first Republican veteran to join with Senator Webb. Obama joins in November. Can you tell us a little bit about that conversation? I mean, how did that go? You have a junior fellow veteran senator in what was then, still is, a contentious district. How did he get you to say yes? What did that look like?
Well, many of you know who Jim Webb is, and one of the most highly decorated veterans of Vietnam. Good friend, Jim Webb and I got to know each other in the late 70s. We didn't know each other in Vietnam. But in the late 70s, when he was the, as you know, minority staff director of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, and I became in 1981 President Reagan's first deputy administrator of the Veterans Administration. That's before the VA was a cabinet position. So I was the number 2 guy in the VA. So I worked very closely with the Hill, obviously, and with Webb. And then I became one of the founders of the Vietnam Veteran Memorial. And so our paths crossed along the way. As we proceeded through the years and doing different things, he got to the Senate 6 years after I did. And so Jim and I collaborated on a number of things, but this bill that he had introduced in 2007, which would modernize and bring up to date the Montgomery bill, which was 25 years old, was really out of date, and it didn't address, Jim didn't believe, and I didn't believe, really what we needed for a new volunteer army and men and women that were fighting 2 wars and
Numerous times,
and their families. Yeah. And we need to do something different. So Jim and I talked about it. I said, I'll be your lead co-sponsor. And I was able to get some Republicans along with us on it. But we couldn't really move it. And at the time, the White House was opposed to it. McCain was opposed to it. Defense Department was opposed to it. A lot of people opposed to it, which I never could really understand. I mean, you're asking these men and women to make these sacrifices and do all of this for this country, but yet you don't have enough money to help educate them and their families. Something's wrong with this. So I said to Jim one day, Jim, I don't think we're going to get this done unless we bring in some senior members, and who had more authority and more respect than the World War II generation, No one. And so we were able to bring in John Warner, a Republican from Virginia, and Frank Lautenberg, a Democrat from New Jersey. And they joined Jim and me as the leaders, the sponsors of the bill. And in spite of all those people being against us, we got it done. And we got it done because it was the right thing to do. And I think America really understood what we were doing, because if nothing else, we were investing in all of you and veterans who had served the country, but multiplying your investment. So when you come home, if you don't have an education, and we never stop being educated, as we all know, but we need to do something that would make it easier and better, and give your families a break as well. So that was really what the essence was. My brother Tom and I both went to college on the GI Bill at that time in 1969. And I knew how important it was, because, we could live a pretty good life with having the GI Bill and then working full-time as well as going to school. So we weren't on welfare, or nobody was having to give us any handouts. And that's the way it should be. And I've always thought, Jim thought this, and Jim was the real leader. I mean, he stuck with it. And but we knew that the American people, if they really understood the facts, would support this, and they did.
So in the Senate, it looks like you really went to work in February of 2008, because I see all of your friends joined the bill. Senator Lugar, John Warner. I don't know about your relationship with Domenici from New Mexico. He joins in February. And then, as you said, the four of you really become the face of this bill, with 2 Vietnam veterans and 2 World War II veterans. On the House side, it was a bit of a different story. I mean, I think we had incredible leadership on the Senate side, and there wasn't a lot that we advocates could do that you guys didn't already have taken care of on the Senate side. I became the first post 9/11 lobbyist for any of the big veteran groups, and I went to work with the VFW right after those hearings on the surge in the summer of 2007, and was tasked with really going after the House in terms of trying to ramp up numbers for co-sponsorship. The House Veterans Affairs Committee, actually, the Democrats were the majority at the time, and their proposal was basically a straight line increase. So if you're familiar with Montgomery GI Bill, it was a monthly payment. I think it was something like $1,100, $1,300 a month. That didn't pay for any school. I mean, it was just the payment. And
by the way, you had to contribute to that too.
That's right. Yeah,
As
$1,200.
Many of you had to pay into if you wanted that educational benefit.
And so, we went to work on the House. House just wanted to increase that number from, whatever it was, $1,100, $1,300 to, say, $2,000. But we knew that that would really negatively affect the veterans who were in high cost of living areas, and that it was just not a very generous bill. And they marked that bill up. That was the House bill for quite a period of time. And we ended up persuading, I think, some key Democrats who were actually not even on the committee that was being led by Bob Filner of California at the time. And we got the buy-in from a gentleman named Chet Edwards, who was the chair of the NatCon Appropriations Subcommittee. David Obey was chair of the Appropriations Committee, and Nancy Pelosi, frankly. And ultimately, the bill gets tied, which was also controversial. We talked about a little bit of the controversy. This bill was in some way, shape, or form, and ultimately we got to an agreement with a lot of these folks. So it's not easy to just point a finger at them. But President Bush opposed it at one juncture. Senator McCain, as you mentioned, Department of Defense said all the veterans will leave the military immediately as soon as we pass this. That retention was a major issue. House Veterans Affairs, as I mentioned. And ultimately, as the bill went on and we built support, we found ways to address some of these issues. And some of those in the Senate with Senator McCain was transferability. And that's why transferability exists in the bill today. That's why you're allowed to pass that to your family members. That was part of the deal. Another deal was the Yellow Ribbon Program in terms of allowing veterans to attend, private universities. That was not part of the original proposal. That ended up being the result of some dealing. So ultimately, I think those things were addressed. But the last one, I think, before passage, which is worth talking about and was, turned into a pretty big fight, was the controversy of insinuating that it shouldn't be attached to the emergency war supplemental, if you recall. And there was a bit of debate on, whether or not, a veteran benefit should be tied to a bill that, ultimately is going to fund the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think the prevailing argument was something to the effect of, if you can't support the troops, you shouldn't, it doesn't make a lot of sense that we can't support our veterans while also supporting our troops. So, sir, we have about 8-ish minutes left, and I guess, I would be curious to hear from you. I know when we passed the bill, I got the chance to, soon after passage of the bill, I got the chance to meet with Senator John Warner, who the last time I think I saw was at your photo unveiling at the Pentagon for Secretary of Defense. I think Lugar was there as well. But I'll never forget, we're riding the elevator down. He'd just gotten off the Senate floor, and we talked about the post 9/11 GI Bill, and he said, there will never be a more important piece of legislation that I work on or have worked on, something to that effect. I think I was like 25 or something at the time, and I was like, oh God, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? It's all downhill from here. This guy's married Liz Taylor, and he's a United States senator. When you signed up for all this, and you agreed to go down this road with Jim Webb and all of these incredible veterans who were frankly just very distinguished leaders for our nation. What were you hoping to see? I mean, was World War II playing in your mind in comparison to Vietnam? What were you hoping the future would hold?
It wasn't anything complicated. It was what I've just said. Service to your country is a fundamental element of America's success, America's freedoms, everything we are, as imperfect as we are. But veterans, men and women who have stepped forward and answered this service to our country has allowed our country to do something that no other country on earth has ever been able to do and still doesn't, self-correct. To defend the Constitution and defend our system that allows us the time and the opportunity and the debate to self-correct, to make things better. We have 27 amendments to the Constitution because we didn't get it all right the first time. And we're still working on some things. So what went through my mind was just, what's fair, what's right? And an investment in bombs, an investment in military equipment, an investment in needed elements of warfare, yes, we get that. But what about investing in the warrior, the men and women who win wars? I mean, tanks and planes don't win wars. It's the men and women who fight wars that win wars. And so, come on, don't we have at least the decency and the honesty to give those men and women at least the same amount of resources for their future and the future of the country, too? I mean, you all are enhanced. You enhance our country as you become more educated and you're able to do more things and you have more opportunities. So was always what drove me, and I made that point on the floor of the Senate many times. I mean, you're telling me we've got enough money, because it was a big issue with the Pentagon, McCain, the White House, the Bush White House. Well, we don't have enough money for this. You got enough money for bombs, and you got enough money to kill people, but you don't have enough money to invest in the men and women who fight the war. So it was a pretty simple equation to me.
Yeah. Well, sir, we have a few minutes left, and I think, as as you and I both know, we've seen a decline in veterans working on Capitol Hill, both as elected leaders and certainly as staff members. Congress is one of the worst hirers of veterans in the federal government. They are. I think it's pretty that's just the case, which is lower than it has been in previous generations. And I think what I've seen in my short time on Capitol Hill, again, starting in 2007, is we've lost a lot of, our incredible veteran leaders who were really kind of the cornerstone, especially when we got into big trouble. It was often our wise veteran leaders that got together and kind of whatever was getting jammed up, whatever wasn't getting done, they were the ones that managed to, find some compromise and put our nation first. We're in a situation now, which, we talked about earlier, where, our government is obviously breaking down in a significant way. What are some of the short and long-term concerns you have with that, and possibly how can our veterans be part of the solution moving forward?
Thanks, Justin. And by the way, your organization is a terrific organization, Hill Vets, to help move that forward and address a lot of these issues. And that's one of the reasons I'm a big supporter of what you and your team do. And I know a lot here in this audience are aware of it as well. I think it's the same thing that, to answer your question, that drives men and women in America to join a military service. No longer a draft. So you got the freedom to make a choice. And that choice, is a little different on the edges for a lot of people. But you still got to be committed to this country and everything it stands for, and the principles and the future, or you wouldn't join the military. I mean, I know there are variations to that, but that's why you do it as much as anything else. And you do it too to enhance yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we all have to enhance ourselves. We're never, ever, any of us good enough. We can always get better. No matter how old you are or how many jobs you've had, you can always get better and you can always learn something. And so I think that always has been part of my thinking about our military, our men and women who join our service, and keep, you think about it, what does the military institution represent, really? I mean, we represent a lot of things. We're the greatest war-fighting institution in the history of man, and all those things that we know and we're proud of. But it's more than that. You affect people. You all know this when you go to school, after you've had the experience that you have, you're seen as a leader. You're seen as someone that people want to talk to. And you do it right. You don't lord it over anybody, or you don't try to represent yourself as better or smarter or more knowledgeable, because you're not. You have an element to you that most people don't have. That's a huge asset for you. That's an asset for your future. That's an asset for your family. That's a huge asset for this country. So I think you've got to look at it all that way. You're an investment in our country, and you invest in the country as well. The country invests in you, and that's why it was so simple to me, the GI Bill. This is an investment in all of you. And why couldn't we see that? And I just never could get over that issue of, well, we can't afford it. Well, of course you can afford it. Of course you can afford it. So, I mean, it's not simple, and you all know that, but it is simple, really. And we tend to overcomplicate our lives. We tend to overcomplicate everything. Partly we think that's kind of neat sometimes, but it's really dumb. Don't do it. Just be who you are, get better at that, because you can always get better. but life's, I get it, it is complicated in a lot of ways, but it's really pretty simple.
Well, sir, one of my favorite quotes that I hear you say is, just do the right thing, and you know what the right thing is. And I think there's so much truth to that, where we do overcomplicate it. But I think when you ask yourself that question, the right thing is very clear.
No, I mean, that's the North Star. Just do the right thing. And sometimes that's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can cost you short term. I mean, I resigned 2 presidential jobs because I didn't think what was going on was the right thing. But I turned out all right. So,
Well, sir, the last thing I do want to highlight is, and we heard Lauren talk about it earlier, is it is amazing to see what you can get done in Washington when you give up pride of ownership and really get to work. And we certainly saw that with the post 9/11 GI Bill. And you all should be. I've been proud to see how incredible this organization has grown. Student Veterans of America. Derek Blumke kicked this thing off, and his team was there in Washington helping us pass this bill, as were all of the major veteran service organizations. So it's been a real honor to sit down and reminisce on this incredible bill. Thank you for all of your leadership, sir, and thanks to Student Veterans of America for having us here today.
yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
NatCon attendees, please welcome back to the stage SVA President and CEO Jared Lyon.
Sir, thank you a great deal. And on behalf of Student Veterans of America, we had a special presentation for you. We created an award last year in honor of Senator Bob Dole called the Senator Bob Dole Continued Service Award. This award was created due in large part to what we consider Senator Dole being among the OGs of GI Bill users. Having served in World War II, been severely wounded, returned home to recovery and usage of the original GI Bill to attend multiple universities before achieving his degree and then ultimately becoming a member of Congress and then ultimately a senator. That notwithstanding, I served as an usher at Senator Bob's funeral last year, and this award was conceived due in large part with his spouse, Senator Elizabeth Dole. This is only the second time that we've awarded it. Last year it was awarded to the Global War on Terrorism Memorial Foundation, and this award can be presented to an individual or an organization who has made a lifetime of impact on behalf of student veterans. We can think of no better first individual recipient of this award, the Bob Dole Continued Service Award, than you, sir, and the impact that you've made on literally millions of veterans, but most assuredly everyone here in this room who we wouldn't be here without. So, sir, thank you.
Thank you very much. This is very, very, yeah. Okay. Yeah, come on. Let's go. Yeah. Are you doing this?
Sure.
Come on, yeah. Okay, I'll just, thank you. Well, sir, you have humbled me with this award. I knew Bob Dole very, very well. Matter of fact, he and my father were born on the same day, the same year, July 22nd, 1923. My father never knew Senator Dole, but I knew him very, very well, and I served with his wife, Elizabeth, in the Senate. And truly, there was not a more, not just celebrated, but a more committed and effective advocate for veterans than Bob Dole. He was the champion, and to be associated with him in any way is truly amazing for me. And I really appreciate this because this is such a meaningful and real recognition. And again, I thank you all for what you're doing for this country. It's so important, and you are changing lives in in ways you don't even realize. And you're going to keep doing it and make this country a better country. I would just add one thing. This country is going through a difficult time now. I don't have to remind you of that. It's what's been going on the floor of the House of Representatives the last 3 days, January 6th. But we're a nation so much better than what we've seen in the last few years. The world knows that, and I think most Americans know it, and that's partly why Americans are so frustrated. But we will come out of this. We will. And we'll come out of it not just because we always do, we'll come out of it because of the right people, and you all are so much a part of that because you believe in things. You make the world better. You've done that in your young lives already, and you're going to continue to do it. So I just add that because I know that's something on your minds. If someone like Bob Dole were still alive, he would address it, and he would address it in his Bob Dole fashion, very clear, very direct. And that's partly why he has always been so effective and so admired. So thank you all again, and have a wonderful conference. Enjoy it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I sit before you as a second-year PhD student at Syracuse University, and without that foundational experience that I had because of the GI Bill for an associate's, bachelor's, and master's, I don't think that there is any world in which I would look at my previous set of experiences and know that I'd be a PhD student today. And the GI Bill helped to make that possible for me and my family.
If I had the opportunity to trade my GI Bill for something else, for anything else, I would pass. The GI Bill has set me up for success both academically, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the GI Bill.
Things started to click, and I started to realize that that was my opportunity to finish the degree that I had started before I enlisted right after September 11th. I used the GI Bill, and I used the stipend to pay rent for me and my kids. And I finished my bachelor's degree. I had a job lined up. Then there was a sequester, so then I didn't have a job lined up. But the GI Bill was so generous, I had some time left, and I went on to get a master's degree. Then I went on to become a presidential management fellow, and then I got a PhD. What the GI Bill allowed me to do was really to forge my own path.
The Forever GI Bill was instrumental in my life. It was the reason why I felt comfortable enough to leave the military and pursue higher education. And to find out that the people I now work for were extremely instrumental in that, it was just so serendipitous that I couldn't describe a greater feeling.
And believe in myself. I wasn't gonna go to college. Just having that opportunity to challenge myself again. The GI Bill changed my life. The value of the GI Bill cannot be measured. It changes the lives of those who use it, those who have earned it, and those that use it serve others.
Luckily for student veterans all over the country, there were 2 U.S. senators by the name of Jim Webb and Chuck Hagel. Both of them Vietnam veterans themselves, one a commissioned infantry officer in the Marine Corps, one an enlisted infantry soldier in the Army. Every generation of veterans that will come into the future stand on the shoulders of the Honorable Chuck Hagel and the Honorable Jim Webb. We couldn't be more grateful for that opportunity. Thank you, gentlemen.
We see the impact that an educated veteran population has on the nation, on our communities, on the economy. I could only imagine what it would do for all those who wanted to use it. I would personally like to thank the Honorable Chuck Hagel and the Honorable Jim Webb, specifically for the post 9/11 GI Bill that changed my life as well as the lives of so many others. And they continue to make an impact on so many that are separating from the military and choosing to transition through higher education.
NatCon attendees, please welcome to the stage Chancellor Darrell Allison of Fayetteville State University and SVA's 2022 William Pearson Talley Champion for Veterans Award winner.
Well, good afternoon. Come on now. Come on now. It's not that late in the day. Come on, one more time. Good afternoon. Almost a year ago today, this organization, Student Veterans of America, SVA, honored me in Fayetteville State University by presenting me as the 2022 William Pearson Talley Champion for Veterans in Higher Education. And as I stated then, I say again, I wasn't deserving. But what I promised to those in attendance that day was that, quote, Fayetteville State University pledges to work even harder on behalf of our student veterans so that one day we feel at least half deserving in having this award adorn my office. And Student Veterans of America, we're not there yet. Fayetteville State University has been hard at work. And I'd like to take some time to update you on our progress. Next slide. On February 2022, while on the grounds of Fort Bragg, the largest military installation in the nation, it was announced that of all 102 historical black colleges and universities in the nation, HBCUs, Fayetteville State University enrolled the most military-affiliated students in the nation among all HBCUs. Now, upon that research, Fayetteville State University announced the following, given our place in the nation. Next slide. We announced that for any and all military-connected students seeking to enroll at our institution starting fall of 2022, that military student will receive a 4-year tuition-free scholarship. Now that's tuition-free for students that are active duty, veterans, reservists, spouse, and dependent. They each will receive a 4-year tuition-free scholarship. Now again, this was launched the fall of 2022 semester. So let me show you how we've done so far. Next slide. Go back. Here you go. Go. There you go. Come on now. In less than 6 months from our announcement, our campus has nearly 300 new military-connected students that we now educate at Fayetteville State University. And as you can see, that's almost a 16% increase of military-connected students since the previous year. And for the first time in our school's history, which I'm very proud about, we eclipsed 2,000 military-connected students being educated at Fayetteville State University, Now, that's significant when you consider that of the nearly 7,000 total student population at Fayetteville State University, 30% of our students are military-connected students. And, you go ahead. It's a tough crowd. And in our quest to continue to be all that we can be for our student veterans, Fayetteville State University is on pace to eclipse 3,000 students, military-affiliated students, by 2027. Now, with an ever-growing population of military-affiliated students, we are committed to ensuring that our campus climate and culture is most accommodating. Now you may proceed with the next slide. It is our goal at Fayetteville State University to renovate and dedicate a new military and veterans academic center. Next slide. approximately 20,000 square foot of space that will provide full service academic support for our military affiliate students. We'll house our 2 ROTC units, both Army and Air Force. Are you still out there, Army? Air Force? And next slide, please. I am happy to state that this location will also be the new location for our SVA chapter there in North Carolina. Last slide. Student Veterans of America. Fayetteville State University is both committed and united with you in this important work. And though we as an institution by no means have reached the proverbial mountaintop, we will. And we will do so by living out our university's motto, Res non verba, which is Latin for deeds, not words. Student Veterans of America, Fayetteville State University thanks you. God bless.
Please now welcome to the stage Student Veteran of the Year finalist, Tracy Santos of the University of Rhode Island.
Hello. Although NatCon is only hours into day one, I am feeling inspired by all we've seen so far and understand why this year's conference is so aptly themed on the shoulders of giants. Before our next speaker takes the stage, I'm here to help you get the most out of these 3 days, which you can curate to your own needs and interests. To that end, we hope you already attended some of our breakout sessions. In fact, SVA encourages you to attend as many sessions as possible, and this year, there are more than 100 to choose from. I'm sorry to say that there's no way to hit them all, but you might want to do a little pre-planning with other chapter members so that you can divide and conquer, absorbing the most information across as many breakouts as possible. Likewise, please try to arrive at each session at least 5 minutes before it starts to claim a good seat. Breakout sessions start tomorrow at 9 a.m., and you'll want to start your day bright and early with morning yoga hosted by the Veterans Yoga Project at 7 a.m. in the Casitas Courtyard. And tomorrow is another very special day, as the SVA Honors Luncheon opens at 11:30 a.m., celebrating the greatest accomplishments from chapter leaders, chapter advisors, and SVA partners, hosted by SVA favorite, Jamie Gray Hyder. For each keynote address, you'll want to arrive 15 minutes prior to when doors open. With this much programming, we aim to always start sessions on time. One other critical reminder, if you haven't already, please upload your resume to your NatCon registration. It's easy. Go to natcon.studentveterans.org, click Already Registered in the header, and then click Modify Your Registration on the confirmation page. From there, you'll see a prompt to upload your resume. That's it. You never know where opportunities will pop up until you put yourself out there. One way SVA can help you do that is by showing off your resume to NatCon exhibitors. It'll be hard for you to make it to each of them individually, so why not let SVA bring them to you? And now, it is my pleasure to introduce a luminary among us, Aisha Brown, also known as the Tech Picasso. An eccentrically prodigious humanist, she is a globally recognized storyteller and is a commissioned artist while enjoying her day job as a producer at Xbox. Self-proclaimed coolest nerd you'll ever meet, Aisha uses a gaming conduit to build community and bring people together to learn through gamification. And you might be surprised to learn that Aisha came to Microsoft after serving 12 years in the Marine Corps, 4 in the Air Force, and is a combat veteran. Before we welcome her to the stage, please take a look at the screen from a message from Microsoft, a gold sponsor of NatCon, whose support we are so thankful for.
Here at Best For You Organics, we ensure all our suppliers meet the same exacting standards of the original Jackson family farm, where Abigail and I grew up. Because caring is in our DNA. Today, Best for You Organics is an ever-expanding retailer, controlling every single step of the supply chain. And that's why we need team members like you on board. Ready to get your hands dirty? Then welcome to our team, Best for You Organics, providing the very...
Hey, did you hear? We just got hacked.
This could cripple our company, so none of us are going anywhere.
Can you spot the hacker? Because it's time for Who Hacked, a Microsoft Learn cloud game. Coming soon.
NatCon attendees, please give a warm NatCon welcome to the incomparable Iasia Brown.
They gave me a microphone, y'all. I get to walk around. I don't like being put in a box. I had this really cool keynote prepared because my friend over there, he was like, all right, you're gonna talk about cybersecurity and scaling through gaming. And in the last 2 hours, it went out the window. I got my mind blown earlier. I don't know if any of you saw General Chris Cortez talk earlier, but we'll get to it. So I'm Iasia, and I don't say the coolest nerd you'll ever meet. I'm just the coolest nerd you'll ever meet. Like, it's all about the tone when you say it. But when I got here, I ran into General Cortez, who was my CG while I was in the Marine Corps. And then, of course, I came to Microsoft through the MSSA program, and he was the head of military at Microsoft, so we crossed paths again. And now that I'm at Microsoft and kind of just doing my thing, I get to see him all the time. But he looks at my jacket. He's like, you're prepared to speak today? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm supposed to be at school this weekend, so if there are any Trojans in the house, you know, fight on. All right, there we go. See, the home, I'm supposed to be in class tomorrow, but you know, priorities. But he was like, why SC? And I paused and I thought about it. We're all veterans, so you can all understand time, right? Who has played the game called Hurry Up and Wait? We all have, right? So for me, it was a very, very, very easy choice to pick SC because I value my time more than I value money, more than I value, you know, status or a title or anything. And SC gave me that opportunity to make more with my time. I say that to say because who all here are students? Oh, okay. It's an educated crowd. Who all here is actually looking for a role? At least somebody's honest, okay? Who's looking for a role in gaming? First of all, y'all don't know what y'all are missing, okay? Because it is, where's Activision at, okay? Like, it is great over here. I'll give you a little backstory on me. So I did 4 years in the Air Force, and my first 4 years, I was 17 when I joined, and nobody would sign the parental consent for me to join the Marine Corps. Nobody. So I did my 4 years. When I got done, went straight to the Marine Corps. Hey, it's just a little different, but a good different. And I had a phenomenal time. I mean, phenomenal time. Enjoyed everything I did. Then I hit a wall at 16 years. It took me 8 years to make gunny. And if you know you're a Marine, that's not an easy feat to do. You gotta get meritoriously promoted every rank and just keep going. But you know, no matter what, you hit a wall, right? Because I don't know a single E10 out there. There isn't one, right? So when I look at what I wanted to do next, and people at Microsoft call me the pivot princess because if I don't like it, I leave. I don't. If I don't like it, I leave. I leave immediately. And I was like, what do I want to do in this next life? Because if you're still serving, whether it's active duty or reserve, or maybe you served and now you're in a role somewhere, where you start does not have to be where you stay or where you land. And the biggest roadblock, it's going to be you. Every day I get to wake up and do what 8-year-old Iasia wanted to do. I make video games. Like, Literally, I was sitting in the hotel with my wife last night. I got an email and I was like, oh, I'm going to Sweden on Sunday. Just found out. So I get to go make video games, right? But I say that to say, everybody here is already a cut above the rest, the civilian world per se, if you will. Because we've been in places that most of them will never see. We've had experiences most of them will never have. And every single one of you had a job that you probably didn't ask for. And you learned it, right? So no matter what's put in front of you, I always ask people when they get out, the first thing I ask veterans, well, what do you like? I don't know what I like. You should probably start there. What do you want to do? I want to do what I was doing in the military. Why? Someone told you to do that. Now that you get to choose what you want to do, what do you want? If you could wake up every single day, and somebody give me an example. If you could wake up every day and get paid to do something, what would it be? Oh, see, you all know what you want to do. You just don't want to go out and get it. Okay. So y'all know what y'all want to do. What's stopping you? Somebody said the IRS. I'm not even going to touch that. But information is like, who knows what SVA is? All of you, right? Who knows what O2O is? Okay, a few. And if you don't know what O2O is, we'll get there. Who knows what MSSA is? I'm throwing acronyms because this is the crowd to do it, right? I say this because information is the one thing that our community gatekeeps. I'll say it, we gatekeep. Because we learn something and we might not necessarily pass it along. None of these people are your competition. Nobody is your competition. You are your competition now. No one, you can't get promoted and be the only person in that role at that company. Other people are gonna come. The day I got my offer letter at Microsoft, I turned around and my dentist, who is my best friend, I was like, I'm going to Microsoft. She was like, I wanna go to Microsoft. She's cleaning my teeth at the time. And she was like, oh, okay, I'll go. And she's at Microsoft right now. My neighbor across the street, she was retiring from the Marine Corps. I was like, you wanna come to Microsoft? Brought her and her ex-husband. Like, you should be a force multiplier every, hey, that's important, okay? That's important. But you should be a force multiplier every single place you go. So I didn't learn about SVA until a few months ago, and it was by pure accident, because, hey, Vishal, I mean over there, powerhouse at Microsoft, that's the man to get a job from, just throwing that out there. But he has this infectious personality of always giving me information. And then he turns around, and if he's in a space that I'm not, he says my name. And people will reach out to me, and they're like, hey, Vishal said, and I'm like, okay. And that's okay, because when people are looking for jobs, I'm like, hey, Vishal. Like, it should be a constant give, because you can't pour from an empty cup, and as long as you surround yourself with people who are continuing to give to you, you'll be all right. You will be absolutely okay. And I say that to say, some of the work is on, all of the work is on you. All of the work is on you. Going to school is terrible, right? Is there anyone that really just enjoys doing all their schoolwork all the time? It's like a chore. It's the chore that never gets done. It does. Misery does love company. But we keep going because it's important. It's a milestone. It's something that we set our sights to do, so we want to make sure that we hit it, and that we hit it hard, and that we graduate, and we go back and be like, look, I made it. Now what do I do? Who is in a degree right now where they don't know what they're going to do with it? That's okay. You can use any degree for any job, like any degree. My first bachelor's was in criminal justice, and I make video games. My manager was like, how does that even translate over? And I was like, I learned how to find information. I know how to collect information. You want to see? I can demonstrate. But everything you do is not for anything. But the one thing that will stop you is yourself. Find the information. I don't know if y'all know this platform is called Google. It's free. And a lot of people don't use it because they'll be like, hey, Asia, do you have any resources for veterans? I was like, yeah, you want to go on Google with me and we can go there together? What kind of resources are you looking for? There's so many things out there for our community. If you've never heard of Onward to Opportunity, I used it while I was going through another program because it meant I can get a free certification. And then once you get your certification, you can use it for the study material for every other certification they have. It's like little things like that, just giving people information is so important. That's why I never want to be in front of people and not give them something they can use. So I asked, does anybody got any questions today? Y'all need something answered? What's up? I am hiring. Actually, I'm looking for an executive producer. So, asked and answered. I am. I'm looking for an EP right now. So if you like games, if you understand games, actually, do I have anyone that likes crime TV? That's what I need in a producer right there. Because people who watch crime shows can tell you the plot. They can tell you who the suspects are. They can tell you how they... But that's the type of mind that I need. I don't want someone that's going to tell me everything I already know. I don't want someone that's going to agree with me. That sounds like I'm married. I don't want someone that's going to... I want... Everybody was a junior rank at some point, right? And didn't we all go, that don't make sense? And we got told, well, that's the way we always do it. Those sound familiar? Yeah, no. We want those great thinkers. Everybody in here does not want to hurry up and wait anymore. Everybody in here wants to be able to have their ideas heard. The biggest blocker is going to be you. Like, I think I heard someone say earlier that today is the first day that they open the fair. You get to talk to the speakers or the companies that are hiring before everyone else gets to see them. Who came with their resume ready? All of you should have your resume ready. You are your resume. You walk up and talk. Talk your talk. Some of y'all aren't even here for yourselves. You might be somewhere and you hear of a role where, you know what, I got a really good buddy that needs this. What I suggest you don't do is show up to your interview with your buddy. Because we do that too. Why do we do that? No, I'm serious. And then you got to pick the better person, and it might be your buddy. And it's like, well, I would have never met him if you didn't bring them to the interview. So, but I'm actually really, really happy to be here. As a student, as a veteran, as a representative of Microsoft, as a representative of myself, because you know you got to make your parents proud. It's always important for me to give back to the communities that I come from. And I sit at the little intersection of name X box, right? Literally, pun, no pun intended. But whether it's I'm a Black veteran, a queer veteran, a Hispanic veteran, a combat veteran, all the things, a mother, a wife, like all those things that make up me, I never want to lose sight of those. Like it's no longer, as much as I love the Marine Corps, I love the Marine Corps. Right. Air Force taught me some things too. Air Force, hey, look, I always say Air Force boot camp taught me to be a serial killer because everything had to be perfect. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like you had the line, everything had to be perfect. But I always want to make sure that every veteran has access. And I tell everybody, I am not the plug. I'm the power strip. I ain't gonna give you everything you need, but I will connect you to where you're trying to go. So when I say, hey, reach out to me on LinkedIn, if you need something, I answer everybody. I can't stand it sometimes when I talk to big crowds, but I do answer everyone. My wife can attest to it. I answer everybody. But ask. A closed mouth does not get fed. Trying to do it on your own. We all served. We weren't the Army of one or the Marine of one. Like you had brothers and sisters to your left and to your right. You should be utilizing those resources. And every single person in here is gonna be a resource to somebody else. Somebody already put on their social media, I'm at this conference, and the rest of your network saw it. That should be the type of thing that we keep going. You should not be the only person to be like, oh, I found out about this, and keep it to yourself. As a community, that means As full as this room was this year, it should be double next year because everybody should have told someone about it and told them it was someplace they needed to be. This is my first time here. This will not be my last time here. I'm just blown away to have some of the conversations that I had, really realize the things that I've been blessed to just be here and be able to give back. So if any of you need anything, like, reach out. If you're like, hey, do you know anyone that's a nuclear physicist? I do, actually. Sure, I'm happy to connect you. If you're trying to start your own business, there's programs for that. There are people for that. There are companies and people that will do your trademarks and your copyrights for free just because you're a veteran. But it's really about getting the information out. And I say that everything you learn, or just maybe if you learned one great thing, share it. That's all I ask is share it. Because the one thing that we cannot get back is time. So don't waste it. I'm Asia.
Thank you for joining us at the first keynote address of NatCon 23. We would like to invite you to the SVA campus grand opening and networking reception sponsored by Salesforce, beginning now until 7:30 this evening. Tomorrow morning, yoga begins at 7 a.m. in the Casitas courtyard, followed by breakfast between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. in the SVA campus. Our breakout sessions will begin at 9 a.m. Then don't forget to join us for the 15th annual SVA Honors Awards Luncheon at 11:30. Make sure to check the NatCon 2023 mobile apps for updates. Have a great evening, everyone.